Hello everybody, I'm Rowan6 with Rowan6 Entertainment, and welcome to a new series, a audiobook series of my fanfiction, The Beaters of SAO. The background art for this fanfiction is created by me. If you're interested in me doing art commissions for you, the link to my business Discord is down below. There's also a link to my community Discord, as well as the fanfiction link. Thank you, and enjoy the video.
Now we begin this week's MMO stream. As you can see, many people are in line to buy the new internationally renowned Sword Art Online, or SAO for short. This virtual game has Izuku drowned out the rest of the news reporter's voice as he continued on his way to school. He had all afternoon to play Sword Art Online after all. He'd been a beta tester and got one of the first versions of the game. It was something he'd been planning for months now. In a world where 80% of the population had special powers, he was left behind. His only escape was the video games he'd lose himself in. Ever since he turned 4, the only time he felt useful was in these games. The games in which he could be himself. Fight without people doubting him. Exist without being looked down upon. It was the only time where he was considered something more than just an anomaly. Something other than a useless quirkless boy. And now Sword Art Online has come out, and there's finally a place where quirks did not really matter. Only the skill, the hard work, the dedication, and the ingenuity of the player did. This brings us back to the present. Midoriya had just turned 12 last week, and as a present to himself, he went and signed up for the beta of the latest virtual game that his favorite scientist created. Akihiko Kayaba was the developing director and game master of most of the games Izuku played. However, he was also the creator of the new nerve gear. A helmet who serves to read and send information and commands to the brain from within the virtual world. With this technology, players could dive into the game and play as if it was reality. The man was a genius. He was innovative and made something that was closer to a dream that became reality. However, the real reason behind Izuku's admiration for the guy was one particular fact. Akihiko Kayaba was quirkless. Throughout his career, the man was overlooked and ignored. He was shunned and mocked for his unrealistic ideas. Yet, he proved them wrong. He showed the world that no matter who you are, what your quirk is, and where you come from, you can still achieve what you set your mind to. That meant everything to Izuku. If he could defy his status of being quirkless, there was a chance that he could too. Time seemed to pass slowly as Izuku counted the seconds for the bell to ring. He wanted the day to be over. He wanted to just go home and get lost in his virtual world. Yet, it seems luck wasn't on his side. The moment the bell rang, 3 of his classmates surrounded his desk, effectively blocking the exit and cornering him. Dekiru. Kaken snarled through clenched teeth. Where do you think you're going? The boy continued lowly, his voice gaining a dangerous edge. Home Kaken. Izuku replied hesitantly, not knowing if the boy's question was meant to be answered or not. What, so you're going to go back and play those silly games of yours, huh? One of Bakugo's lackeys called out. They're not silly, Izuku whispered, clenching his fist as frustration built inside of him. These games, they were everything to him. Playing his games were the only time that he felt like he mattered. The only times that he felt like he wasn't so worthless. The only times when he felt like he could do what he set his mind upon. Ha! Stop talking back, you freak! The other lackeys shouted, indignation clear on his features as he thought he was defending his leader's honor. And what honor did Bakugo even have to defend in the first place? Bullies do not have honor, and Bakugo was definitely one of them. Tisk, just ignore him. Let him go hide in his little fairy tales and play hero. It's not like he can ever be one in the real world. Hearing those words coming from his old childhood friend made his heart ache. He ignored it though. Bakugo may have been his friend once, but that was a long time ago. Ever since he turned 4 and was declared worthless. His father left and his best friend turned into his bully. The only one to believe in him was his mother until she ended up dying of cancer 2 years ago. Life wasn't fair. He learned that a long time ago. By the time he focused back on the situation, the 3 were already by the doors. However, it wasn't the end. Because just as they were about to step out, the blonde turned around once more. Hey Deku, if you like these games so much, maybe you should take a swan dive off a roof and play all the games you want in heaven. Bakugo said with a feral smile, and with that they were gone. Midoriya couldn't do anything but stand there and process the explosive boy's words. Silent tears leaking from his eyes as the world pushed him down once more. Midoriya apartment. I'm home. Izuku called out as he walked into the small apartment that he used to share with his mother. He wasn't expecting anyone to answer back. After all, he lived all alone. Although his auntie Mitsuki does have a habit of dropping in to check on him after work. If it wasn't for the life insurance policy that his mother took out when she found out he was quirkless, he would be probably living on the streets. Heading to the kitchen, he made himself a quick bowl of katsudon. After he was done eating, he headed straight to his room. He knew his auntie would be over in a couple of hours and he wanted to get a good amount of time with his new game before he was forced to be pulled out of it. So in the privacy of his room, he made sure everything was in place and ready. Connecting the nerve gear to his computer and flopping down onto his bed. He closed his eyes in preparation and he let a small smile stretch across his face. This was it. This was everything he'd been waiting for. Link start. Izuku said, but as those words left his mouth the world went white for a second before erupting in a display of bright vivid colors. He went through the login steps and chose to keep his beta test character. He no longer was plain old Midoriya Izuku. Here, in this virtual world, he was Dekiru. Looking down on himself, he admired the format of his character. He had the default gear on, the game automatically resetting his character back to 0. This was the way to go if they wanted to be fair to all the players. Izuku liked this game already. His avatar had raven black straight hair, he was tall and well built. It was a body nothing like his original. Excitement bubbled in his throat as he admired the world around him. It just felt so real, everything from fields surrounding him to the small breeze blowing through his hair. People milled around as they explored the game around them. Being a beta tester, he already knew the ins and outs of the first floor. Gathering his wits, he got to work. Running towards the exit that led to the open fields, he made sure to avoid running into anyone. Hey you! Wait up! That was until someone called out to him. He barely suppressed the urge to flinch as he slowed down to a stop. The woman stopped a few steps in front of him. The woman had tan skin, long red hair, and ocean-color blue eyes. You're a beta tester, right? She asked hesitantly. Before Izuku could respond, she continued. It's just you're the only one who immediately took off. That means you know the game already, right? Yeah. Why do you want to know? Izuku replied shyly. Well, I'm kind of lost. This is the first video game that I ever played. The only reason I'm really playing it is because my friend talked me into it. She couldn't join today, so she told me to find a beta tester and ask if they can help me learn the ropes. The red-headed woman said, a bit sheepish. Sure, okay, just follow me then. Izuku said, a little shy. Thanks, dude, the name's Miruko. Nice to meet you. Wait, Miruko, like the rabbit hero Miruko? Izuku asked, surprised. Miruko was a brand new hero on the scene and very few people knew about her. So what were the odds that this was the real Miruko and not some fan using the name instead? So I have a fan, it's good that I'm making some waves. Miruko said with a smile before continuing. So shit, I don't think I got your name. Miruko asked sheepish. I'm Dekiru. He wasn't used to people talking to him without malicious intent, especially from a hero. Maybe, just maybe, Miruko would grow to be a friend. Who was he kidding? Who would want to be friends with him, especially a hero? But even with that thought in his mind, he could not help the small bit of hope that started to blossom in his chest. 3 hours later. They spent about 3 hours together. Izuku taught her the basics, like how to hunt some of the low-level monsters and explaining the setup of the game. Strangely enough, all the monsters they'd encountered had quirks. Whereas the players were only equipped with their weapons and the ability to strengthen their skills. This fact strangely made Miruko excited to the point where they went off to find something to fight. One of the first creatures that they came across was a boar that was a low-level monster, which meant that his quirk was easily countered and his powers low enough for a rookie to beat. However, given the game's setup, the higher the level the harder it will get. This fact was proven when they came across a slightly higher boar where Miruko was starting to have trouble with it. But lucky for the two, Izuku already knew the trick behind this one's quirk and already had a good handle on his skills thanks to his time in the beta. So he was quickly able to dispatch it. You're really good at this, Dekiru. How are you able to do that so naturally? I keep forgetting that I don't have my quirk here and these swords are so hard to use. So do you have some kind of weapons quirk or something? The redhead exclaimed excitedly. Practice, I guess. You'll get used to it eventually. He replied easily, ignoring the pang in his chest at the mention of quirks. Although, being quirkless does help. Getting the rejection over with now was better than later. He didn't want the hope of having a friend be ripped away from him later. So he braced himself for the worst. That's fucking awesome. His eyes, which he'd only just realized were closed, shot open again. That's even cooler. You're just a natural at this. Miruko said with a grin. He was about to exclaim his surprise when a beeping sound interrupted him. I'm late. Miruko suddenly shouted, panic overtaking her features as she looked at a reminder on her menu bar. I ordered a pizza and it was supposed to arrive 1 hour ago. Izuku sighed in relief, not really knowing what to say. Well, I should be going now. Thanks for showing me the ropes, Dekiru. It would be cool to play together again. Sure, if you have more questions feel free to message me. The smile that stretched on his face was the first genuine smile he'd given in a while. Yeah, I'll be counting on it. Miruko replied, holding out her hand to Izuku. Slowly, Midoriya accepted the gesture, warmth spreading in his chest at the thought of having a friend. With that, Miruko turned around, sliding her hand down in the air as she reached for the logout button. After a moment, she tried again, and nothing. Dekiru, real noob question, but how do I log out? Miruko asked sheepishly. You really do not know how to log out? Izuku asked with a deadpan expression on his face. Hey, it's not like I can't Alt F4 this shit, she said a little annoyed. Okay, why don't we look through the menu together, so just bring it up again. Izuku offered as he stepped next to Miruko nervously. He did not have much experience talking or being near the opposite sex. But ever since he met Miruko he didn't feel as nervous as he usually is when around girls. He did not know what it was, but he just felt like he could be himself without any judgment around her. Especially when she did not care about his quirkless status. So as Miruko opened up her menu again and scrolled down to the very bottom, he could not help the words that slipped out of his mouth. It's not there. Izuku said out loud, absolutely confused. Maybe it's a bug or dash dot. Before she could finish her sentence, a bright light erupted around them that blinded them and overwhelmed their senses. After a few seconds, it dissipated. It was obvious to the two that the scenery around them had changed. They were no longer in the fields. Instead, they'd been teleported to the main plaza of the first floor in the town of beginnings. A forced teleportation. Izuku thought to himself as he looked around. It seemed the rest of the players had suffered a similar fate. But before he could think on it any further, his attention as well as many others was soon focused on a dark red liquid that was oozing from the sky. And from the red substance emerged a giant hooded figure. Scared whispers erupted amongst the crowd as they tried to see just who was the newcomer. The hooded figure's tone was deep, voice gruff as it addressed all of them at once. Attention players, welcome to my world. The hooded figure said as dread filled Izuku's guts as he listened to him speak. My name is Akihiko Kayaba. I am currently the one and only person who has control over this world. The now identified Akihiko Kayaba said, causing Izuku's head to spin a bit in realization. Is that really him? Was this the man I admired all these years? Izuku thought to himself, but as he looked at the hooded figure the feeling of dread washed over him. It may have come to your attention that the logout button was missing from your menus. However, make no mistake. This is not a glitch or a bug. This is a special feature in Sword Art Online. Akihiko Kayaba said, causing all the people around them to check their main menus, and all of them ended up concluding that the man was speaking the truth. At this moment, none of you can log out of SAO, and nobody in the real world can remove the nerve gear or interrupt the game. Should it be attempted, a powerful burst of microwave radiation emitted in the nerve gear will destroy your brain, thus ending your life. Akihiko Kayaba said emotionlessly, causing most of the crowd to panic. Shouts of denial and fear were heard as they tried to deny the reality they were in. That can't be true, right, Dekiru? Miruko spoke from behind him, worry barely concealed in her expression. Given the structure of the nerve gear, it's not impossible. Izuku said with a grim expression on his face, but he quickly schooled it so as not to worry his new friend. This was terrifying, and he knew by her expression that even a hero like Miruko was affected. As you can see here. Kayaba continued, pointing at various screens that appeared around him that showcased multiple news outlets. I've issued a warning in the media for all the players' families and government officials. Removing the nerve gear forcefully would result in immediate annihilation of the player. At the moment, 213 people have already suffered this fate, thus leaving both the real world and this one. Kayaba said as they could see multiple news stations reporting all of the footage seemed accurate. Heroes were flitting around the scene, a manhunt was launched hoping to stop this. It was all in vain though. Nothing could be done now. It's safe to say that the danger of this happening has become minimal. I hope you will be all at ease and complete the game. Kayaba said as Izuku's heart threatened to beat straight out of his chest as the seriousness of the situation was setting in. From this point on, all methods of revival in the game will no longer function. If your HP hits 0, your avatar will be lost forever, and at that moment. Izuku didn't want to hear the rest of the sentence, however, despite his best attempt at blocking the voice out. It still echoed through his brain. The nerve gear will destroy your brain and you will die. If you want to be free and get out of this game, there is but one solution, and that is to clear the game. You are all currently on the first floor, the lowest point in Inkrad. If you conquer a floor's dungeon and defeat the floor boss, you may pass on to the next one. Assuming you defeat the final boss on the 100th floor, the game will be cleared. Kayaba said as exclaims of outrage filled the area as people cried out angrily. Izuku knew that clearing one floor was hard. So clearing all 100 of them was impossible, not even the beta testers made it past floor 10, and they had infinite amounts of lives where everybody only had one here. Lastly, you may have noticed, but in this world, none of you have your quirks. This is but also a feature in the game. However, if you work hard enough, each one of you can hone and strengthen your skills. For a quirk is nothing more than a tool. So it would be wise for you to learn quickly how to survive without them. You should also keep in mind that every floor boss is equipped with a very powerful quirk and each floor will get more dangerous than the last. Kayaba said, if the people were panicked before. It spoke nothing of their reactions now. Screams of despair and fear echoed through the plaza, as people scrambled to find a way out of here. But all of them quickly realized that their attempts were useless. Despite all of this, I've prepared a present for all of you in your item storages. Take a look. Kayaba said calmly, like he didn't realize that the people were not freaking out below him. Hesitantly, Izuku made the first move to open his menu. There in the middle of the list that consisted of his items, he found a particularly strange one. The item was labeled mirror, and with curiosity getting the best of him, he pressed the button. Instantly, he was accosted with a similar bright light from before, and when it dissipated, he was still in the same place as before. However, his field of vision was different. Was he shorter now? You okay? Dekiru, hearing Miruko's voice, he turned around. However, in the place of the red-headed avatar, now stood a white-haired girl with rabbit-like features. Her body was shorter than her previous avatar, she had dark tan skin, and beautiful red eyes. Even out of her hero costume, Izuku could recognize her. This was the real appearance of Miruko, and Izuku had to admit she was a lot more cuter than her avatar. Miruko? Izuku said, confused. Looking down at the mirror in the hope of finding some answers, he almost choked on his own spit. There, staring back at him, was his own reflection. His familiar green hair sticking out from every direction, his eyes even greener. Hearing giggling, he looked back up at Miruko, who was obviously giggling at him. And when she noticed that he noticed, she immediately stopped. Sorry, I thought your reaction was kind of funny. But that's really you, right, Dekiru? Miruko asked, still confused about the situation. Yeah, it's me, Miruko. Izuku says, a little confused at the whole situation. But as he thinks about it further, he realizes it made sense. The nerve gear must have scanned their faces and bodies once they were calibrating the game. This theory was compounded since Kayaba had gone through immense effort to make the game as real as possible. But why would Kayaba go so far and to such length to do this? As if Kayaba was reading Izuku's mind, the man spoke up. Right now, you're all probably wondering, why? Kayaba said before continuing. Why do all of this? Well, in our day and age, all that you think of are quirks, villains, and heroes. I am here to show you otherwise. The world shouldn't be ruled by those who are given power, but by those who earn it. Now, the official tutorial for Sword Art Online is done. Players, I wish you the best of luck. With that, the figure dissipated into a display of red smoke, leaving behind a stunned crowd. Silence dominated the whole plaza as the people tried to come to terms with the events that just transpired. Some people thought this was a dream, but Izuku knew that this was reality. A genius created this virtual world and trapped us in it. His declaration was the truth and nothing but the truth. This was it: if they die here, they die in real life. Determination filled his entire being as he drowned out the panicked crowd. He knew that this was no time for weakness and emotions. Izuku always wanted to help people. Maybe, just maybe, he'd help them get out of this alive. He'd save them, no matter what.
Make sure you guys like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!